So, hello everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode of the UX Show. I'm very glad to be here. So, I am Yash, your host, and from the Liquid Galaxy and a Google developer expert. With me, I have a set of hosts. We have Andreu Ibanez from the GDG Spain and an organizer, and also the Liquid Galaxy org administrator. We have Giga from the Jobia AI. Also, we have Victor from Mamori Labs, and he's also a Google developer expert. And it's my utmost honor to be telling that we have Thomas Steiner here. He's a Google developer advocate. And I believe so that around 18 years at Google, if I'm right. And Thomas, the audience would love to hear a few words about you, and maybe you can just give a bit of a description or what you do, and then we can get started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor of myself to be here. Thank you very much for the kind invite. As you say, I'm with Google for a very long time. I work for several years now on the Google Chrome team as a developer relations engineer. It used to be called developer advocate, but now we are called developer relations engineer. I focus on WebAssembly, built-in AI, and some of the more advanced APIs that we call Fugu. So some of you may have heard of Project Fugu in the past. And before that, I was working on the mobile team. Before that, I was working on ads. I was doing a PhD on some European research projects that Google was involved in. Before that, I was working on the AdWords API. And that's essentially my entire life. So I've only ever worked at one company, which is, I guess, rather rare these days.
Yeah.
Amazing to know that. I believe that, Victor, you can just kick off with, I believe, questions, and even if you have any kind of comments to say, and then we can get started.
Of course. First of all, Thomas, thank you so much for dedicating a little bit of your time, especially as the WebGDs, Yash and me, we know how busy you are from events, trips, meeting with us, and with many others, I'm sure. So we appreciate a lot that you taking the time. I would like to start kind of with the first question, to be completely honest. And this first question is going to be directed a little bit to what we have seen so far with Chrome built-in AI, which is something that I'm particularly excited about, and we have been talking a lot both internally and externally. So Gemini Nano, Gemma 3B, we are seeing these smaller and smaller models that are requiring way more less hardware to perform well, and that allows now to ship some of these models with Chrome. So I was wondering, and I know that's kind of a cheesy question, right? But do you think that the next big thing in AI is going to be one of these really small models performing really well in these edge cases? And what UX opportunities do you see by shipping these models in the browser?
So yes, depends on what you define by AI. So when we say AI on the Chrome team, we have several understandings of AI. So there's built-in AI, what you mentioned before. So Gemini Nano in Chrome, 5.4 on Microsoft Edge. This is different from on-device AI, which we consider as something separate, where people download a library like Transformers.js, MediaPipe, LightRT or something, and then with that library run a model that they also need to download manually. And then finally, there's cloud AI, where you call with your web application into some model that's running in the cloud, like the Gemini API or the OpenAI APIs or so. And then there's everything in between, where you have hybrid approaches where you say, I'm running on this device, but because I need offline access, usually I would go to the cloud, but because I can't right now, because I'm offline, I'm using the built-in model. It can be the other way around, where you say in general, I would like to run on the device with built-in, but then for some cases, like a very complex prompt, for example, I need to go to the cloud. And there's a trillion in-betweens that you can see. So for myself, I mostly focus on the built-in AI space, so Gemini Nano. And as I say, the model keeps getting smaller and at the same time more powerful. So if you look at that from a capabilities point of view, like I remember testing the very first Gemini Nano, and the experience then was very different from the experience that is today, where in the beginning you would tell the model, hey, I want to get the response back as a JSON object, and it should have this and that shape. And the model would sort of do what you say, but like not really. And in the later versions, the model just got a lot better at respecting instructions. So you could tell it, hey, give me back a JSON object, and it would actually do that. It learned to deal with structured output. So you could say like, hey, give me back a JSON object, but it must adhere to this specific JSON schema that I'm sending you as well. So just over time, the model has become a lot better in respecting instructions. It got new features, like, as I said, structured output. It also just became more powerful in the sense that it could support more languages. So now we officially support English, obviously, but also Japanese and Spanish. More languages are obviously on the in the pipeline, so that in the future we will have support for languages that a lot of people speak, like French, like Chinese, German, Italian. So all those big languages. But then, of course, eventually we want to have support for like smaller languages. There's, if you go to India, there's like, I don't know, 500 plus languages that people speak. I guess Yash can correct me there. Like, it might be even more, I don't know.
Thousands of local languages, so yeah.
So I guess at some point we will need to stop. But the objective, of course, is to support as many as possible. So all of this, of course, always comes with trade-offs. So if you have a more powerful model, typically it has a tendency to have more parameters, which also means the device that you need to run this model will need to be more powerful. But at the same time, also, we learn to be more efficient with the hardware that we have. So there's different approaches and tricks that people use, like quantization, where you have a model that has many parameters, but at the same time, you reduce the quantization so you can run the model on more, like lower tier devices. And there's even more. There's something that is called early exit, where instead of running through all the different layers of a model, we exit early, as the name suggests, which means at some point the model detects that it has already developed a good enough response by whatever measure of good enough, and it would exit early. By that, not requiring that much processing time, inference time, but still deliver you a good response. And you can imagine if you have the full range of like a $100 or even cheaper Android device, up to the latest and best MacBook Pros that you can get with whatever M5, M4 Pro, whatever they might be called, processors. The range is huge. So if you think about Gemini Nano, it comes already today in different flavors, and it will become, I guess, something that we will deliver in even more flavors for different devices once we support mobile, once we support Android. So that was a very long-winded answer to your question. So there's a lot of things that will happen. More models might also be delivered for, like, we have the task APIs. So if you find there's a model that is really good at summarization, even better as a general purpose model like Gemini Nano, we might at some point also just switch the API over and say, like, oh, for summarization, we use this super new, whatever it might be called, a summarization model that just outperforms everything. And for other tasks like translations, like, I don't know, summarization is what I said, like writing, rewriting, and so on, we might be using a different model. So I think that's also an exciting development. And by abstracting all of those model details away from developers, we also enable this to happen, because developers just code against the APIs that are really simple. So it's typically 3 lines of JavaScript and you are up and running with your AI task. And what is happening below the hood, you don't even need to know as a developer. Of course, you can know it if you want to, but most developers don't want to know, and they don't have to know, honestly.
That's amazing, and please never apologize for amazing answers like that one. The only problem is that now I wish I had 3 hours podcast to give you a 1,000 follow-ups that came out during this question. But please never apologize for answers such amazing as this one. However, I'm gonna refrain from my follow-ups because I know that Giga has a question as well. So Giga, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I have a question regarding built-in AI in Chrome versus hybrid approach. What UX and privacy concerns decide whether an AI feature runs fully on device versus sending data to the backend?
Yes, so on-device runs, as you say, on the device, so there's no data that leaves your browser. But sometimes you just have to, and this is where it becomes interesting. So if you have a device that is too underpowered to actually run the built-in model, or if you have a device that uses a different browser that is not Chrome, where we currently don't have support for the built-in APIs, you need to think of what is your best approach. So with hybrid, you can go the kind of transformers route and say, okay, I'm downloading a model on the device locally, and still run with those privacy guarantees. Of course, this requires you to download the model, which in many cases can be a non-starter. You can go to the cloud and just send data to Gemini, to OpenAI, to whoever. And if your data privacy policy allows it and you inform your users, that's, of course, something you can do. In the long term, we hope for something like private compute, where we have guarantees, where we can say, okay, this is going to be processed in the cloud, but similar to what Apple have established with their private compute model, we can still give you certain privacy guarantees and say, like, okay, so this is running in the data center, but we can never associate this data with your person, with your IP that the user might be running on. So just decoupling of the inference and the person that requests this inference to happen. We are not quite there yet, but eventually we hope to get there. And so for hybrid, currently what we support is officially the Firebase AI logic that people can use, and it allows you to select the model, so you can select dynamically what model you want to use. Ironically, the initial thought was, can we get Gemini Nano on the server as well? Which is kind of weird because, as I say, ironically, on the server, you have all the powers in the world to run the most powerful models. But if you want to get the same sort of quality that people get on the device, you sort of want to run the same model. So you would run on a very powerful server a very limited model in the end that is designed for on-device, which is something we don't do quite yet. So what we do now is we run a really small Gemini Nano, sorry, not Gemini, a really small Gemini Flash model that gives you similar responses, but it would still be more powerful than something that is running on the device. So I think we're sort of in this between state where we're figuring out what is the best hybrid solution, what developers can work with. If your use case is you work with, education in a country in the European Union where there's very strict rules of what data can and cannot leave the country even, you are bound to on-device. But then in many of those cases, people work with relatively underpowered hardware. So there's also limitations to what those Chromebooks, for example, can run locally. So sometimes it's just a weird and strange decision that you need to take as a developer, and you need to get the lesser of the different evils.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Very interesting. I know Yash has some other amazing questions as well, so go ahead, Yash.
We have been diving too much into AI, and I believe that there would be many more to go, but I want to just go a bit different route and talk about the project Fugu, specifically the contact picker API. It offers a very great UX. I have used it, have tried it, but also that data could be like highly sensitive. So like, what were the security and UX principle like that shaped its final design and the way that it is right now?
Yeah, so the contact picker is a very good example of an API where we are really heavily iterating on the picker method. So initially, let's take a step back. What would people want to use this API for? There's everything from you just need to pick one contact, like you are a shop and you want to ship this to a friend. So you can use the contact picker API to pick that friend's address. Everything to people have this use case of they are a social messenger, they want to bootstrap your network. So they upload your entire address book to the cloud to sort of see who you know, who is in contact with you already. And of course, this is something that is heavily frowned upon. The native apps can use this. On the web, you can't. On the web, you can just select contacts one by one. There's a limitation to what data you can share. So there's like in the picker, there's a feature where you can say, I only want to share certain fields. So if it's the primary address that you need, you can only share that. As a developer, you can also be very conservative and say, my use case actually only needs, let's say, the email. It doesn't need the name. It doesn't need the address. It doesn't need the phone number and so on. So we iterated over this design and made the picker as flexible as possible so that it can cater for all the different privacy use cases that people have, with the exception for this upload the entire address book, because this is just something that we think is very privacy invasive, and in many cases not something that people on your address book would expect you to do. So if I allow you to put you on my address book, I sort of don't have an expectation that you put this to whatever services online, and my data gets shared with whoever. So I think here that's a clear privacy line that we drew back then when we designed that picker, and I do think we ended on something that is relatively workable for the use cases that we have in mind.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, that was very exciting to know, and I believe Andrew also has some questions. So yeah, over to you, Andrew.
Thank you. Yes, sure. Thomas, we try to not to mention too much the AI thing in that kind of streaming, naming as you want, podcast, your name, because we are having a tsunami, maybe is the word. But I have a question also regarding to this, and maybe it's a little bit difficult to ask, but this little program we do is the UX show. It was originally made because of the interest of Yash in this area. Of course, Giga and Victor are also experts on this. I am the less expert on this show. I lead other kind of activities. But I have a question regarding the AI intermixed with the UX future. Is that, how do you see for real, I will say, I know it's difficult, for just only 3 years, are we going to lose the UX finally? I mean, are we going to be Star Trek guys and all day talking with the computers for real, using big and terrible intelligent LLMs? How do you see the future on this?
That's a very complex question. So let me try to frame my answer from several angles. So people think of AI features mostly as like just something that is magic of sorts. So there's something typing, there's something giving them responses. People have learned to associate the sparkle symbol with something like AI. So sparkle already has this magic sparkling to it. So when people see a feature that has a sparkle icon, they sort of have learned this is AI. When people see something as typing seemingly, they might be expecting, okay, so this is an AI that is talking to them. But then, of course, this is not just limited to text. There's a whole bunch of features. Like I see a few of you have background blur activated in Google Meet. So this is AI too. And here we have AI that is actually very flexible, because depending on how powerful your device is, it will use different quantization models to draw the mask around your face. So my face is really simple. It's just an oval because I look like an egg on VCs. But then if you have someone with curly hair, the mask that you need to draw is very complex, of course, because like sometimes there's, even if you have an HD camera stream, there's even a single hair that gets visible. So how do you draw that mask? So you really make sure that every single hair is visible. So you make that dynamic. So that's AI too. And you can choose that sometimes in settings of video conferencing software. We do have things like, I don't know, transcription. So if you have something that can record your voice and transcribe it, it can use AI. We have AI that generates UX. So if you think Gemini now has this feature where, depending on what you ask it, it will automatically create you some sort of image gallery. It will create you some sort of list view. It will intermix images and lists. And I think ChatGPT is something similar. They came up with the, what do they call it? The OpenAI apps or something, that they have a name for that, where you sort of can specify your UX that the AI will use and design dynamically when it comes up with a response. So I think there's a whole bunch, as I said, of angles that you could take. Is there any angle that you are particularly interested in?
Yeah, I say 3, maybe I can push to 5 if you want, but are we gonna be less of all kind of UX? I mean, we are not gonna deal with Chrome. Oh my God, look what I'm saying. Or are not gonna deal with applications on our mobile, and are we gonna interact with the machines by voice? So the UX that this is the show about is not gonna be at all, or it will be a totally different UX. It will be the voice interface and with all the different rules behind.
So I guess buying, let's say, clothes with a voice interface is not something that most people will do. So if you're like me, you're a really boring person. So you buy the same Levi's jeans 501 every 5 years. You get new ones. And I know exactly my width, my height, and so on. So I would maybe do that with a voice interface. But then if it comes to buying something where you just need to see it, or at least get a better understanding of how it will look on you, if it will fit your style and so on, voice is, I guess, not really the user interface that most people would prefer. So I think user experience can be also a voice interface, but I think in many cases, user experience is something that people think of as a visual experience. When it comes to audio even, like if you have something like, I need whatever, let's say music that I can use to have a jingle for my podcast opening. Of course, you need to hear it. There's no way you can just buy something and say like, it's described as being lively jingle music. You want to hear like what do they mean when they say lively? Does it fit your style? Like, is it something that people would associate with news, but you are whatever, a podcast that focuses on art. So I think there's a lot of things where user experience comes in and needs to be multimodal by definition, where user experience is not just text, not just audio, not just graphics, but also the combination of everything in many cases. So like I think user experience, even in the age of AI, will be super important. I think what will be less of a thing in the future will be hard-coded user experiences, because today, like we learned to do responsive web design somewhat. So in the early days, we built m-dot sites and we built regular sites, and we learned to do it responsive. So your design would be more or less the same, but adjusting to the user interface that people or the device that people are using to experience your experience. And I think in the future, we will be less bound to those pre-designed user experiences. And we can just say like, I'm planning a trip and I would really like to see, I don't know, those sites, but painted on a map so that I can visually see, like on a map of a city, where are the actual sites that I want to see. And there is a site that I'm seeing really worth the walk over there. So you might want to just combine this also with like information around, I don't know, is there a hill that I need to climb because I'm using a wheelchair? So maybe things that are very promising when you look at the image are inaccessible when you look at the terrain map. So I think these kind of very dynamic designs that you just on the fly with AI in the future will be able to design. I think this will be something that a lot of people will lean into. Will this make the lives of user experience designers from today useless? I don't think so. It's just something that will become more dynamic, I think.
Very interesting. Before I pass the word again to Yash, I have to tell you that you are also using a blurry background with the Meet. Is that true?
Yeah.
Your background is not real because Thomas, you are using a very old, I will say old Google logo. And remember, just the one I have just behind me, that is the old one. And no, I imagine in no offices of Google there is any more longer this old logo.
G is very clever, so yeah.
So Yash.
Oh yeah, I wanted to give the mic to Victor. I believe he has a question in the Fugu line. I have a question in the Fugu line. So yeah, Victor, over to you.
Yes, so I have been quite impressed with the AI revolution of coding, if you like. And as a kind of web enthusiast, I've been extremely happy to see that many vibe coders and many expert developers in other areas are kind of rediscovering PWAs. And the reason is why they kind of try to ship these applications very, very quickly. And they are actually building web applications and getting kind of quickly surprised on, thanks to Fugu and other APIs that come, in that kind of web ecosystem. And I'm talking from HTML5 to WebAssembly, the things like WebGL through 3JS. We have seen from games to applications that can use USB or Bluetooth, and all of them are being shipped on Firebase, on Netlify, on Vercel, right, and things of the sort. So we are seeing this kind of resurgence of PWAs, and obviously you are kind of sitting in the middle of Project Fugu, Chrome AI. I was wondering if you are seeing that same trend, and if that you believe that finally it's time for the web to win that old battle of native versus web. Is finally the time for the definitive distribution platform, which to me continues to be the web, now that we are seeing this kind of resurgence?
Oh, very loaded question. So I think Fugu and AI actually play well together. So if you think of some of the Fugu features that we have seen, like, for example, the file system access API that allows you to build through editors where you open a file, you edit it in your application, and you can save it, not download it, but actually save it. I think this is a very powerful API, and with AI and vibe coding, as you just mentioned, it's very easy now to vibe code an application that, uses FFmpeg to allow you to split videos. So I have no idea about the FFmpeg APIs, but it's very well documented. So I can very likely just tell an LLM and ask it, hey, create me an app that will allow me to split videos with FFmpeg. I don't even need to tell it to use FFmpeg. It would just know that this is the tool for using this. And then, I could be like, oh, well, that's actually a useful application. Add a service worker, make it installable, make a nice web app manifest, create an icon for it. So I think there's a very lower barrier now to getting really good experiences. At the same time, and that's why I say it's loaded, the web is full of really bad applications and really like medium quality apps. There's a lot of framework bloat. People use frameworks when they don't necessarily make sense. Some LLMs, so Paul Kinlan has written an article about this on his blog, AI Focus, where he says, like, most LLMs have just React and Tailwind sort of hard-coded into the system prompt. So if you don't say anything, it will blind assume you want to build a React app. So I think this is something that is interesting. And if you look at the built-in APIs, we are in this very interesting moment right now where the LLMs commonly know what the built-in AIs are about, but because of the knowledge cut, they're stuck on a previous version. So if you ask Gemini, if you ask OpenAI, if you ask Claude to build a built-in AI application, it will suggest AI APIs that existed before on the window.ai namespace, but it's not a thing anymore. But you clearly can see the model is aware, but it's just not up to date enough. So I think when it comes to lowering the barrier, at the same time, you also need to be sort of an expert in the things that exist. So you need to know that there has been a namespace switch, or you need to know that if you want to get an installable application, likely you need to ask for something like the manifest or something like a service worker. So I think it's a lot of those things that people know passively. If they've become experts over the years, to just know service workers exist. They might be hairy and are hard to program. But if you can just tell the LLM and guide it in the right direction, you get really good experiences out of those LLMs in many cases. But you need to be, I think, still at least aware of a lot of the things that you can vibe code or code vibe code. But if you can't really judge the outcome, at best you're generating something that works today, but at worst you're generating a lot of tech debt. That means you will have a throwaway product that tomorrow might not be usable or maintainable anymore. But I think at the same time, it is something that experienced engineers, like I guess most of us would qualify as such, can use very productively. It can be everything from just I have a test, I have a set of tests, and I can ask it, hey, add one more test to just build the entire test suite to begin with. Build the entire application that fulfills this test suite. So something like test-driven development can become a lot easier now. So there was Simon Willison who ported an HTML parser library from, from Python or Rust over to something else. Because he could lean into the existing test suite, he could just let the agent do its job. And it was not something that he would observe and sit in front and just wait for the results. It would be just something that he would tell the LLM to do, go away, have the LLM crack on it for, I think sometimes even hours is what he wrote in the blog post, and then come back. So I think this entire vibe coding aspect, it will change how we develop software in the future. It already has, I think, for most developers. And what we started with, like something like GitHub Copilot, where you can sort of get some smarter-ish autocomplete to how we do in many cases work with IDEs, with Klein and I don't know, Cursor and Windsurf and you name them. Today, Gemini, command line interface and so on. There's a whole bunch of new ways how you will program in the future. And I think each of us will have their own way. There's people who refuse to use those tools for, I think, very good reasons as well. If you can't assure that something has been built with copyright safe code, how can you then release something if you don't know if it might be using copyrighted code? So there's a lot of questions also around it. But I think personally in me, for our guild, mostly the optimist right now wins. But I'm very aware of the problems and challenges that the field also encounters. I well respect everyone who refuses to use those tools, but they need to have really good reasons. And if you just blind reject AI, I think that's not a winning move today. And, you can be dogmatic and absolutist about it, but I'm not super sure if this is something that is future-proof.
Yeah, it's funny because I think all of us engineers with a little bit of experience, right, are having this kind of dichotomy. And I always tell the same story. And it's true. I mean, half of the time, I feel like I'm speaking with an alien brain. And the other half of the time, I think I'm speaking with an absolute idiot. And it's really hard for me to know where the coin flip is going to go in each time in each one of those interactions, to be completely honest, right? But as I was saying before, we will get you on a developer experience of 3-hour running podcast, because you mentioned so many things that I want to follow up on. It's funny. I have something that I was saying to another engineer friend a couple of days back. I'm doing more TDD than ever before in my career, right? And it's because I can do AI-assisted TDD, things that before I wouldn't have ever done, on a kind of my startup career because of shipping velocity. But now TDD is perfectly possible and almost advisable when you are interacting with AI. So yeah, so many questions. But with this said, Yash, I know that you have the next one for Thomas. Thomas, thank you so much. By the way, we are kind of shutting you left and right, AI, not AI, Fugu, not Fugu. You are doing great. Thank you so much, Yash.
Oh yeah. So a user experience question would be like, I wanted to ask, like, there was a good thing about Fugu, there was a good thing about AI APIs, and these were all being made with like user experience or the developer's experience also in mind. So I just wanted to ask, like, which one Fugu or AI API just comes to your mind when you are thinking about that the UX was the US feedback was like significantly changed, or maybe it could be like insecurity, maybe it could be in privacy model, due to the developers and everyone like to help in the like shipment of those APIs.
So one API that comes to mind is the local font picker. So let me take a step back. So there's web fonts and there's locally installed fonts. So you download a font from a font foundry, you license it, you install it. Maybe you're on a corporate device. So on Google devices, we have a font called Google Sans installed. So long story short, the set of fonts that you've installed on your computer is an amazingly personal fingerprint vector. So if I know someone has Google Sans installed on their device, you already know that they're a Google employee. just to give you one example. But then, yeah, people just download random fonts. So you need to make a birthday card for someone. So you find somewhere, license it or get it for free, like a funny whatever birthday card font, and yeah, you forget about it. It just remains in your fonts. And over time, with many years of computer use, people use their computers longer than they used to in the past. Yeah, you have this fingerprint. And why am I saying all of this? Well, because in the beginning, the local font access API would just be allowed to give you a set of all the fonts that you had installed. Then people wrote back and said like, oh, there's this privacy problem. We need to somehow make this different. So they came up with a picker where in the picker, similar to what we had in the font, in the contact picker, you could select fonts one by one and say like, my whatever graphics application should get access to this funny birthday card font that I downloaded 3 years ago. But then in the end, we realized this is not really working for developers because people want to merge your locally installed fonts with web fonts that they offer. So there's an application that uses it, like Boxy SVG, for example, is a good one that does that well, where you can give it access to your local fonts, and it would just dynamically create a font picker that merges some of the web fonts that they have licensed with your local fonts that you have locally installed on your device. So we went back and forth, weighing different arguments like privacy, like developer experience, like end user requirements. And in the end, the end user requirements were the highest ranked feature that we decided on. And which is why today we have this local font picker API that just gives you information about all the fonts. And it is still gated behind a prompt. So it will ask you, hey, do you want to grant access to your local fonts? But then it will give all of them to you. So I think this is, in the end, a good outcome. But yeah, we had everything in between.
Oh yeah, and given that it will be coming in like the soon years and all that, and I will be like totally excited for it. I think that Giga has a question, and we are very close to the end, so it's like a wrap-up question. And Giga, just over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of summarize, and we discussed so many things about built-in AI features and whatnot. So just from your perspective, if you look ahead 5 years, what would be one UX principle you believe that web developers will need to relearn or fundamentally change because of the AI and new capabilities we will see?
I think loading will always be non-immediate. So if you think the network today is the limiting factor in many cases, but then it cannot just be the network. Sometimes it is the database on the other end that needs to select whatever thing that you're interested in. So there will always be loading delays. And today, the best we can do is some sort of skeleton content where we show you roughly what we expect will come. So if it will be, let's say, a product card, they can sort of give you a fake product image. We can give you a fake product description. We know there will be product names, so we will give you a fake product headline. But like in many cases, this is not really truthy to what in the end the real thing will look like. So if we sort of improve upon this, and I don't exactly know how, I think this would be a big step in making field apps more natural and more regular to use. And it can be anything from, as I said in the beginning, or somewhere in the middle, dynamically created user interfaces where we just say like, I don't know, we display you the better spinner, or we display you something that you can do in between, and I don't know, play a quick round of Sudoku while you wait for your results to happen from a database query or something. So I don't really know how it will look like, but I think waiting times and making them seamless and not seem like lost time, I think this is something we will always need in the future, and where UX and UX research specifically can help us there. And today we have spinners. There's a lot of research on spinners. Like if you have a spinner that looks like the native operating system spinner, people will blame the waiting time on the device. But if you have your custom-made spinner, people will blame the waiting time on your app. So I think there's a lot of tricks also that people have been using in the past and things that people have learned. I don't know, like making waiting times appear as a set, not like lost time. I think this is something that most of us would appreciate.
Thank you so much. Handing over to Victor.
That is fantastic, Thomas. Thank you so much. I have to say, since the release of Gemini 3, I've been walking around many cities in my morning walks, talking with Gemini AI like a crazy person as I was going through my walks. And I have to say, there is one thing in common that all of our guests have on the UX show, and that all of the conversations that we have with them are always better than AI. So at the very least, for this podcast, humans continue to consistently beat AI. And Thomas, today you did excellently on this podcast. You leave us with more questions, and it's not because you lack answers, but because we would speak with you for, again, many, many hours. However, we need to cut the episode right here. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Andreu. Thank you, Giga. Thank you, Yash, for coming today. Thomas, the last thing that we always ask to all of our speakers is, where can we find more about you and about what you do at Google for those 18 years, but more importantly, for the 18 years to come? So tell us a little bit on where to find you in socials, etc.
Yeah, so first, I'm really glad and happy to have been able to talk to you so much and ramble around the things that I had on my mind. It's also a pleasure having met the Turing test of not being perceived like an LLM. That's good. So thank you. I think Giga is an LLM, actually.
We are all aware of this. We haven't been able to prove it, but we are kind of certain at this point.
Just joking, sorry. So yeah, where people can find me on the socials. So I'm mostly active on Mastodon, but I have accounts on all the social networks. So I think if you just search for my handle, Tomayak, which is T-O-M, like Tom, and then A-Y-A-C, Tomayak, you will find me on whatever social network that you use. I may be more or less active on some, but I will definitely see if you ping me, and I'm happy to answer questions, to follow up. Just get in contact with the listeners and watchers of this episode. It's been a pleasure to be here. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Thomas. If you are watching this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and to leave a comment. And stay tuned for the last and next episode of this season, episode 7, that will be announcing very, very soon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Thomas, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Good one.